Ladies and gentlemen, holy Toledo, Palantir Technologies is going to be releasing the quarter three earnings call in less than 24 hours, followed by a presidential election, followed by a decision from the FOMC meeting from the Fed regarding interest rates. Talk about volatility coming ahead. Things are going crazy. My hair is going crazy. It's starting to look like Alex Karp's. We're going to be talking about what's my personal prediction on just everything that I'm gathering from all the data, expecting, and especially with momentum and what we're seeing in terms of psychology regarding Palantir's price and kind of what the situation needs to be, I think, for Palantir to still continuing to grow in terms of valuation, because that is a big concern right now that all of a sudden everybody is starting to talk about when it's been disconnected from valuation for some time. So a lot to break down. We're going to be talking about everything that you guys need to know, collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some guy on YouTube collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now pop it up right here. Palantir Technologies is at 41.92 for the Robinhood overnight hours, up 8 cents at 42. I don't think we're going to see a lot of volatility here for Palantir, especially gearing up before earnings. Maybe a little bit of a push up, possibly. However, Palantir is sitting at a very interesting point. Number one, it's at over $41 and basically at 42. We're at these record highs that we've seen for Palantir. A wonderful run up that we've seen for the year, doing very well. Now, Palantir has been able to hold in the 40s, which has been a pretty incredible accomplishment regarding where Palantir was just a few years ago. And what we've seen with AIP, commercial governmental contracts, has really brought a lot of exposure and expansion to this company. Now, one of the big things that we have been talking about, and I saw an interesting X post, sorry, not Twitter anymore, X post that kind of I agreed with 100%. And that was right here, that talking about Palantir earnings, it's going to be very interesting in that market expectations are very high, and there might be some tendency for the market to look for the fly in the ointment, to let air out of the price after Palantir's inclusion into the S&P 500 in its recent strong performance. And that I couldn't agree anymore with. I think a lot of investors, institutional, retail, across the board, want to see the stock cheaper. And that is because I believe Palantir is doing very well. Regardless of earnings, they are starting to become a foundational piece in the SaaS software industry. And on top of that, a leading competitor with AI and software. They are on the top of the game regarding the software side of things in AI. So nonetheless, if Palantir becomes cheaper, that could possibly be great entry points for investors that are waiting for Palantir to cool down a little bit, because it is highly valued. That is one of the biggest criticisms. It's one of the most expensive AI SaaS stocks that's out there for a reason. Everybody's talking about it. A lot of people are buying Palantir. Look at its price action. Look at its performance. But Alex Karp even says, all the bettors that go against Palantir, just wait to see what they do. And they'll prove it with their earnings report, what's actually happening in reality. And what we're seeing right now is a lot of analysts are coming out, and we're seeing a little bit of some bearish media articles talking about Palantir has it hit the top, talking about its valuation. You even see Morningstar here talking about going into earnings. What are they expecting? They give a fair value of $19. Now, their fair value is always going to be lower because Palantir does usually trade at a premium. But what to watch for in quarter three earnings, particularly, we're going to be looking at uptick in customer interest. Also, on top of that, we're going to make sure that Palantir, looking at its guidance of the upcoming quarter, that's going to be a big thing, how they're doing quarterly, and what's in the business pipeline? What is Palantir continuing to work on, and how are they going to continue to deliver significant numbers with AIP, and on top of that, continuing on with governmental contracts? Now, looking at where Palantir is trading, we do know that anything short of the stock, if Palantir does not hit some amazing type of metrics, that's where we could see a little bit of a cool off, even not even that much of a price action. If Palantir does meet its expectations, or even just slightly beat them, this is where I agree with the statement right here that they're going to be looking for the fly in the ointment. anything for a reason to try to bring the price down a little bit. And you can even see here the Seeking Alpha article talking about this earnings preview. What can the software maker, justify in its valuation? You have RBC Capital, which we know has always been very incredibly bearish for Palantir. You got the other ones here talking about current valuation, indefensible. Can Palantir justify its own valuation? That is a big, big, big topic of discussion that will be going into tomorrow's earnings report. This does not mean I'm bearish on Palantir. I'm just talking about what I personally, in my opinion, could expect possibly in the short term, unless Palantir has a jaw-dropping earnings call. Now, with that being said, 9 cents earning per share, that's the estimates, correlated with the revenue of $703 million, and we have earnings per share revisions, 11 bullish ones in the last 90 days. Now, like I said, regardless, if Palantir comes out with good earnings, bad earnings, they are still continuing to be a leader in the AI sphere in terms of the software industry, and specifically the SaaS industry in terms of that niche. So I think they're going to continue to do what they're doing, regardless of what the earnings report is. That's just where short-term volatility comes in here. So possibly people trying to trade off earnings, and that's where a lot of riskiness could come in. Now, stock features. What we're seeing right now, U.S. presidential election, going to cause possibly big swings in the market depending on what the results are. Now, this could really play a pivotal role on how stocks are going to perform for the rest of the year, especially what's the market kind of sentiment going to prepare going into 2025. And talking about which party kind of takes control over here of Congress, that is also going to have a big implication on how stocks could be trading for the rest of the year. Also, with volatility going into next week, you're going to get the latest interest rate decision for the Federal Reserve. They finished their FOMC meeting on Thursday. Right now, traders are pricing in a 96% probability of a rate cut at the conclusion of the central bank policy meeting. This is following a 50 basis point cut, which would be a total of 75 basis points that they'd be achieving so far in terms of the federal funds rate being cut. Greater focus is really going to be focusing on what Powell is going to be saying following the meeting, talking about what are going to be the future expectations. Remember, the market's expecting 2 25 basis point cuts by the end of the year, this being one here and also in December. So we'll see what happens. Lots of interesting things. Tell me, what do you think down in the comments? What are your expectations for Palantir with their earnings report? What do you expect is going to happen for them? I want to hear what everybody's thinking about, especially with what's going to be happening in the election. Big things ahead of us. I guess we'll talk tomorrow. We'll have more of an idea. Peace out. Take care. Have a good start to your week, and I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend.